Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video I'm going to include a bumper roundup of all of the updates that Snowflake have released since September all the way through until January. It only seemed like yesterday I released another roundup of Snowflake's features and updates, but when I actually checked that out, that included May through to August, and I released that in September. So we were well overdue for a new video to round up all those features, because if you're anything like me, and I work with Snowflake on a daily basis, even I struggle to keep up with all of the updates on a monthly basis that Snowflake releases. So in this video I'm just going to bring everything together that caught my eye in terms of the significant updates and releases over the last few months. So I hope you find this video useful. My name's Morton, and I've written a couple of books on Snowflake. I've also been lucky enough to speak in front of my peers on a number of occasions. I've lived and worked in the UK, Europe and Australia during my career, and today I'm on a mission to help as many people as I can fulfill their career potential by adding as much value as I can around data strategy and modern cloud data platforms. So the first category we're going to start with is cross-cloud business continuity, essentially keeping the lights on if something happens to the underlying cloud infrastructure that your Snowflake service relies upon. The first thing that caught my eye in this section was released in September around one of my kind of favorite features is client redirect. Basically what this means is that if you have multiple Snowflake accounts running on a cross-cloud setup, you lose one of those because of a disaster, fire, flood or outage, and it's not so often that happens, but it definitely does even in the cloud these days. You want to be able to fail over gracefully to your other Snowflake account. Now, I felt this was a bit of a shortcoming with Snowflake a while back prior to client redirect being set up, because it needed a person to actually go in there and redirect those applications and those queries that users were running for that organization. They needed to do some stuff behind the scenes to actually redirect those queries to the new instance that's been promoted to the primary. Client redirect came up a few months ago, and it basically is enabling you to automatically redirect client and application queries seamlessly in the event that your Snowflake instance fails over in that disaster scenario. The client redirect is now in general availability, allowing for that seamless failover of client and application queries, as well as working together with account replication to replicate your objects and synchronize those on a regular basis. And then if you lose an account, and you then can promote your secondary to the primary automatically and redirect those queries. So a really good one to see in general availability now. The other feature that was released over the last few months that falls in the category of business continuity was around database replication, and essentially streams and tasks. Support for those are now in public preview. So this basically means when you're replicating your database objects in a failover, failback scenario, and there's now preview support, and this came in October last year for the replication of stream and task objects. Interestingly though, this feature also replays the pipelines from the last replication point, which allows you to fully recover the data and avoid deduplicating that data as well. So really important feature in my mind for those of you that are having multiple Snowflake accounts and need to ensure that your replication process is as robust as possible. Moving on to performance. So Snowflake offers a service called Search Optimisation service. This essentially allows you to turn this option on a per table basis to enable what they call needle in a haystack searches. So this is when you're looking for individual records within very large tables and you need to enhance or increase the performance of that. You switch on the Search Optimization service. That goes away, uses some compute to collect some statistics behind all of those columns on that table. What does that all mean? Well, essentially, when you need to do these needle in a haystack queries where you've got a select statement with a where clause that's looking up like a customer ID or order number, for example, in a massive table of millions and millions of records, which also could be quite wide, it makes it very quick and easy to use. Now, in September and October, There was a bunch of enhancements to the search optimization service, which includes extending the support for different data types, including regular expression searches, the variant data type, and the geography data type is now available in all regions from October and in public preview. So that allows you to run fast lookup queries on tables with those supported properties. So under the heading of security, in December, Snowflake released something called session policies, which is a completely new feature. It allows customers to basically define a session policy with a time limit for each individual session which a user has. Once that time limit runs out, a user will have to re-authenticate with Snowflake again. Those idle session timeouts then can be configured for the UI as well as programmatic access using Snowflake clients. So this then allows you to have a level of control and granularity to satisfy those requirements from your compliance or InfoSec teams. You can also set this session policy at a single account level, so it's globally for everybody that logs into the account, or for individual users where you can get a lot more granular in terms of setting up specific user level policies. Moving on to data pipelines, there was one particular thing that caught my eye. It actually feels like it's been around for a long time now, a lot longer than in September when it became general availability, and this is serverless tasks. So previously when you created a task in Snowflake, you need to assign it to a particular virtual warehouse that you obviously had to set up ahead of time and configure yourself. Since then, now Snowflake's evolved and the tasks now can be used with managed compute. So essentially it's serverless. You don't need to worry about setting up or configuring or specifying a virtual warehouse when you create a task. Snowflake basically just takes care of that. So the warehouse size and the standby times and idle times are automatically controlled by Snowflake based upon the workloads that task is looking after. It does mention in the documentation as well for the release notes that you can expect to achieve up to 35% cost savings in some cases. Moving on to data governance, there's a few things that came up over the last few months around the data governance category. The first one was data classification. This allows you to switch this on and harvest potentially sensitive data that you've got stored in Snowflake tables and views. Basically, you switch that on, Snowflake will go off, look at the data you've got there, apply some algorithms to that, and highlight effectively where you could be storing sensitive information or PII style data. Once that classification process has ran and you're able to review the results, you can then decide about how to govern or manage that data, such as tagging it, for example. Now in September, that was extended, that functionality was extended to include GCP. Data classification, though, just to note, is only available on accounts that are Enterprise Edition or higher. And in October, tag-based masking policies were now made generally available. So masking policies in Snowflake have been around for a while. That allows you to mask data based upon the role that's actually querying the data at runtime. You can now do that based upon tags, extending that functionality that was already available. So once a policy is associated with a tag, that policy is automatically applied to any other column where the tag is assigned. So promoting reuse and making it really efficient and reducing the overhead of managing and maintaining masking policies. Continuing with data governance then, the next one that caught my eye was in January, and this was about column lineage. Now often your security and compliance teams or InfoSec teams will either need to tag or ask you to tag and protect sensitive data as it flows through your Snowflake database. Obviously, as you're applying transformations to that data, you can lose track of where that goes, and that can expose you to a level of risk that your teams might not be happy with. Snowflake does have a column lineage capability that's now in general availability as of January, and I'd actually hadn't come across this because most of my customers actually choose a dedicated data management tool to provide and expose that lineage, not just within Snowflake but across their end-to-end architecture. But digging into this, essentially it's using queries within the access history views and the flatten function to look at how that data is traveling through your Snowflake environment. You can see that within the documentation, which has also had a refresh recently, which is good and much better. It provides a query here that you can use against the metadata within the access history views to extract that data for column lineage use cases. So in November, there was a marketplace product feature addition, which introduced fixed term billing for listings. That was in private preview. So in addition, this basically introduced a new way of pricing for your listings on the marketplace, in addition to the existing usage-based pricing models that allow you to charge consumers per month, per query, or combination of both. This allows you to charge for fixed priced access to your listings. So with the fixed term pricing plan, your customers pay to gain access to your data offering upfront for a fixed term, rather than paying every time they access the listing on a monthly or per query basis. So I thought that was a neat option and opens the door to other people who want to creatively monetize their data and generate new revenue streams, leveraging the Snowflake marketplace to do that. The other feature that caught my eye was in the development category, and this was a native Visual Studio Code extension, which is now in public preview. Now, it's been years since I've used Visual Studio, and I used to use it for a long time, but it's been a long time since I touched it. But I know a lot of you out there probably want to use that and interact with Snowflake using Visual Studio. I can imagine how appealing that is to not leave that development environment for those of you that do use it. So connecting to Snowflake, exploring databases, writing and executing SQL queries, also with IntelliSense, and viewing results without leaving Visual Studio, which is now available in public preview for Snowflake. In January, there's an optimized storage feature which allows for external tables for on-premise storage, which is now available in public preview. This allows you to create external stages and external tables on software and devices on-premise or in a private cloud. Now, these stages and external tables expose S3 APIs, and with these new capabilities you can now use Snowflake to access data in those storage devices, whilst of course getting all the benefits that Snowflake provides out of the box, so allowing you then to tap into on-premise data more easily. And finally, to complete the roundup, and no roundup on Snowflake updates would be complete without a mention of Snowpark. So back in October, Snowpark for Python became generally available. So this now allows you to build data pipelines and machine learning models within Snowpark using Python in a combination with user-defined functions and stored procedures. And obviously the prevalence of Python around the community of data scientists and data engineers and developers plus SQL enables you to bring Python code into Snowpark to leverage all the features and functionality of Snowflake, working on the data and applying the logic and building the models where the data lives is hugely advantageous and reduces risk of moving data around, data redundancy, latency. So bringing it all together within one environment on your modern data platform is hugely compelling to a whole range of customers. So that concludes this bumper roundup edition of Snowflake's updates over the last few months. I hope you find it useful. I hope it saved you some time going through the release notes yourself. And if you got good value from this video, please keep watching, keep subscribing. New videos come in very soon. Are you looking to grow your skills this new year and looking to fulfill your career potential? Maybe you've been frustrated by being stuck in a dead-end job in your company, or your employer hasn't necessarily invested in you and you're stuck working with on-premise systems. Well, this is exactly why I designed this course, this program, Mastering Snowflake. My members join me and they've typically got 10 to 15 years experience in IT and data specifically. They've often got a lot of skills and experience that they've poured time and effort into over the years, and they want to be able to leverage that to the best degree. So they come to me, they're often quite confused about where to start. There's so many overlapping technologies out there, there's so many different buzzwords, and I want to really help you and these people cut through all of that marketing hype and really get a good understanding of how to design and deploy solutions for the cloud. I choose Snowflake because I find it really empowering to work with. It's really easy to get up and running. It's got a lot of good features and concepts as well. If you come in from an on-premise environment, will be really game-changing to you in terms of your day-to-day role. So I'm basically packaged up everything I've learned using Snowflake since 2017 across a range of implementations, I've now got a number of recipes, if you like, that allow you to take the out-of-the-box capabilities of Snowflake, package them up to address real-world business challenges. This will save you time and effort. All of the kind of mistakes and everything that I had to make initially to get to this point, you will be able to kind of fast track yourself to that. So as part of the program itself, I provide all of the hands-on demos, the code I use, the code templates, and the patterns I use with my enterprise scale clients. You also get access to a exclusive members only group to get expert advice and share knowledge, not only around Snowflake, although we do have a number of obviously discussion points around Snowflake itself, and that could also include certification or interview guidance and advice, but we also include any tools and technologies around the modern data platform space, whether that be dbt, Matillion, Fivetran, Stitch, Elation, Outline, Power BI, Tableau, you name it. We've all got different experiences we can bring to the table. I also conduct live 60-minute group coaching calls, which are completely optional. And people from around the world turn up to those and ask me any questions, whether that be around technology, whether that be around data strategy, or architecture advice and guidance. Your investment in yourself in terms of getting into this program will continue to pay dividends to you, because obviously Snowflake is changing every single month, and all of those updates are fed back into the program periodically over time. So it's all being designed by myself from the ground up. It's very practical, it's very hands-on, provide in-depth background, not just around the theory, but with real-world case studies and then practical hands-on activities within each module. So if you're interested, this is what it looks like in terms of the course breakdown and the structure. You can apply. At the moment, we've opened the membership up for new applications. There's a link in the video description below. Please hit that link, apply to join. I'd love to have you as part of the program. The key thing for me is making sure you're the right fit and you're going to get the most amount of value from it. Thanks so much for listening. All the best on your Snowflake journey.